What you are about to hear is a story that has been locked behind palace doors for years. A story about silence, about patience, about an institution that plays the longest game in the world, and about two children who will one day open the books that record royal history and find that the crown made a choice about them before they were old enough to understand what a choice even was. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your #1 source for the most exclusive and most shocking royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because tonight we are telling the full story of what the palace has quietly done to Archie and Lilibet, and why the silence surrounding it is louder than anything that has ever been said out loud. And if you have been with us from the beginning, you already know, we never hold back. We never pull back. Let us get into it. And before we go one single word further, if you are not subscribed to Royal Daily Report, hit that button right now. Turn on those notifications, because this story has been building for years, and the final chapter is now being written. Subscribe now. Let us get into it. For years, the world waited, watched, whispered, wondered if the palace would ever speak about what was happening to Archie and Lilibet's place within the royal structure. And the palace said nothing. Absolutely nothing. That silence became its own mystery. People interpreted it as indifference, as avoidance, as the institution simply not knowing what to do. But the silence was never any of those things. The silence was strategy. The silence was the palace playing the game it has played for 1,000 years, waiting, patiently, until the moment was right, and then acting with the precision of an institution that has survived everything the world has thrown at it. Quietly, finally, permanently. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now, because to understand why the palace acted, and why this moment was always coming, you have to go back more than 100 years to the document that still controls everything. Subscribe now. Hit that button. Turn on those notifications. Subscribe now. The year was 1917. The world was at war. Empires were collapsing. And inside Buckingham Palace, King George V made a decision that would echo through the entire next century. He signed what became known as the Letters Patent of 1917, a set of royal rules so strict and so precise that even modern royals are still fully bound by them today. These rules answer one fundamental question: who is truly royal? Not who feels royal, not who is popular, not who has a famous parent, but who is officially recognized by the crown. King George V created 3 requirements, 3 boxes that must be checked without any exception. First, legitimate royal bloodline. The child must come from the royal family in a way the crown officially recognizes. Second, official birth registration with the crown. The birth must be documented according to royal standards, witnessed, verified, and recorded in the royal archives. Third, connection to the Church of England. A royal christening is not decoration or tradition. It is a legal and spiritual seal that ties the child permanently to the monarchy. These laws were designed to protect the crown from confusion and political threat, and for over 100 years they worked without fail. No shortcuts, no exceptions, no bending, not for anyone. Until Archie was born, and the very first crack appeared. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born in 2019. At first, everything looked completely normal, but deep inside the paperwork, the place where the palace pays its most careful attention, something happened that set alarm signals ringing behind palace walls. Archie's birth certificate, originally filled out with Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was suddenly changed, not corrected, not updated, rewritten. Her entire name was removed and replaced with her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Birth certificates are not branding tools. They are legal records, permanent documents that help determine a child's rightful place in history. Meghan said she never approved the change. She claimed the palace forced it. The palace denied her version completely. Both sides pointed fingers. Neither side backed down. And in that disagreement, something very dangerous entered the official record. Not gossip, not rumor, not online speculation. Real doubt inside a legally binding royal document. To the monarchy, doubt is not just inconvenient, it is completely unacceptable. A crack in a royal child's documentation is like a crack in the crown itself. The clock started ticking the moment that ink dried. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now because by the time Lilibet was born, the palace had already made a quiet internal choice. And what happened with her birth and her baptism is the part of this story that changed everything. Subscribe, hit that button, turn on those notifications. Subscribe now. When baby Lilibet Diana arrived in June 2021, royal watchers expected the same familiar scene they had witnessed for generations. A palace statement, doctors confirming the birth, royal aides stepping forward, a sense of ceremony that said another chapter has been written into the Windsor story. But that did not happen. The announcement came from thousands of miles away in California, through a carefully polished press release. No royal trumpets, no palace balcony, no senior aides stepping forward, not even a formal acknowledgement from Buckingham Palace beyond the bare minimum. It was as if the birth of a prince's daughter was simply a private event for a private couple. And for the monarchy, that silence was not a small thing. It was a signal, the clearest signal the palace could send without saying a single word. We are not claiming this moment. The crown did not take ownership. No royal registrar, no traditional supervision, no British doctor signing anything. And in royal language, silence is louder than any shout. Then came the baptism. Months after Lilibet's birth, Meghan shared that her daughter had been baptized in California. The ceremony was filled with warmth and family celebration, but inside Buckingham Palace, the reaction was completely different, because for royal children, a baptism is not just a religious moment. It is one of the main requirements set out by the 1917 Letters Patent. It is the moment a child is officially tied to the Church of England, the crown, and the hundreds of years of tradition behind them. It is a legal marker, just as important as a birth certificate. But according to sources familiar with church records, Lilibet's California baptism was never registered with the Church of England. To the couple, it was a beautiful and meaningful celebration. To the royal family, it was a ceremony that on paper did not exist. A child without a recognized Church of England baptism is considered to exist outside the official record. Instead of strengthening Lilibet's connection to the royal family, the event did the exact opposite. It left her floating between two worlds, celebrated by her family in America, but completely unrecognized by the very system she was born into. Two cracks now existed, one in Archie's birth documentation, one in Lilibet's christening, and as those cracks spread, the foundation began to tremble. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now, because Harry's response when he understood what was happening, the desperate late-night phone calls, the begging the wall he hit, is the most human part of this entire story. Subscribe now. Hit that button. Turn on those notifications. Subscribe now. By the time the cracks became impossible to ignore, Harry could feel something slipping away, something deeper than any argument or misunderstanding. According to sources familiar with the private conversations, Harry began making phone calls late into the night. Not calls filled with anger, not calls filled with royal formality. Calls filled with genuine fear. Harry, the boy who grew up inside palace hallways, watching guards change, hearing footsteps echo through centuries of royal tradition, now found himself standing completely on the outside, watching the doors close in front of him. And the thing hurting him most was not losing titles for himself. It was the thought of Archie and Lilibet losing something they never asked for, something he believed was theirs by blood. Sources say he begged the palace to reconsider. He explained that stepping back from working royal duties did not mean stepping away from the Windsor bloodline. He believed Archie and Lilibet were still fully entitled to their place. They were still the grandchildren of a king. They still carried the same blood that runs through the House of Windsor. But the palace's response was not emotional. It was not warm. It was not sympathetic. One aide allegedly told him, in the most controlled and chilling way imaginable, "This is not about emotion. This is about order, lineage, and the future of the crown." For Harry, it was like hitting a wall made of solid ice, a wall that refused to melt, a wall that reminded him that the monarchy is bigger than any individual. Even a prince who once walked those same corridors as a child. And when Harry finally realized he could not change the palace's mind, something inside him broke. He was not just losing an argument. He was losing the legacy he had believed he could pass down to his son and daughter. And then the palace made its final, irreversible move. In the world of royalty, the most powerful decisions are not delivered through speeches. They are delivered on paper, in ink, in the quiet turning of pages behind palace doors. The crown finalized the documents. The decision was not written in dramatic language. It was not made public with fanfare. It was written the way the monarchy prefers, quietly, confidently, permanently. No prince or princess titles, no ceremonial roles, no future royal duties, no position in the line of succession, no place in the official records that document royal heirs. Within the pages that record royal history, the same books where the names of princes and princesses live for centuries, Archie and Lilibet's names would not be written, not as heirs, not as future royals, not as part of the crown's continuing story. They would simply not exist within the institution their father was born into. And unlike temporary punishments or paused privileges, this decision was final. No appeals, no negotiations, no room for last-minute changes. While Harry and Meghan spent years telling their story through interviews and books and documentaries, the palace played a completely different game. The monarchy did not argue. It did not defend itself. It did not fight back publicly or counter any specific claim. It stayed silent, because silence in royal strategy is not weakness. It is a weapon, a shield, a way of waiting for the exact right moment to act, while letting all the noise burn itself out. The palace watched everything from a comfortable distance. The interviews, the claims, the public moments, without rushing, without reacting. The crown does not compete in public opinion battles. It plays the long game, the generational game. And when the moment was right, it made one precise surgical move. Not directly against Meghan, not directly against Harry, but against the very foundation of their entire public identity. Because without titles, there are no young heirs. Without heirs, There is no royal lineage continuing in California. Without lineage, there is no dynasty to challenge the crown's control of its own story. Years from now, someone opens the royal archives, the giant heavy books that hold the names of kings and queens and princes and princesses, books older than many countries, books that tell the story of 1,000 years of monarchy. They turn the pages carefully. They see George. They see Charlotte. They see Louis. They see every child born and officially recognized within the Windsor line. But there is no Archie. There is no Lilibet. Because the monarchy made a deliberate, conscious choice. These children will not be part of our history. Archie and Lilibet will grow up in California, far from palace gates and royal expectations. They will laugh in the sunshine, play in the garden, go to school like ordinary children. They will know love and family and genuine freedom. But they will never know what it feels like to stand on a royal balcony, never hear their names announced with titles before them, never see their portraits hanging in Buckingham Palace, never be written into the books that outlive time itself. Not because of anything they did wrong, not because of any failure on their part, but because the crown decided that legacy is not built on emotion or fame or interviews. Legacy is built on rules, on lineage, on tradition that bends for absolutely no one. And that silence, the silence of their names missing from the pages of royal history, is louder than any interview, louder than any argument, louder than any scandal that ever made the front pages. It is final, it is permanent, it is the quietest and coldest move the palace has ever made. And as this chapter closes, one truth becomes completely clear. The monarchy never raises its voice. It does not need to. Its silence is always the loudest sound in the room. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you tonight, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications because we are here every single week with the stories that go deeper than any headline. Share this tonight with someone who needs to hear the full picture. Subscribe now. Tell 5 friends. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends.